When we join in couplehood, we are two separate people coming from two separate backgrounds, two separate families with our own family values. It's not really such a big deal until children come into the picture.
When you become a parent, you can prepare and think you know what you're doing, but you really have no idea. We're parenting two completely different ways, and this is naturally going to cause quite a bit of discourse in relationships.
We eventually, inevitably, will argue in front of our children. Argue, fight, whatever you want to call it. Please walk us through this very uncomfortable moment.
Arguing in front of your kids can happen and can be okay. I think what is said and how it's said truly matters.
Do you believe that couples need to have similar parenting style?
Definitely not.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to a new episode of Help Them Bloom. Today, I have with me Jordanne Sculler. She is a licensed mental health therapist. She is specializing in relationship work. She works with couples and she dedicates her time to helping couples unlock their potential for growth, self awareness, and authentic connection. Jordanne, you have come from New York, moved to Miami, correct?
Yes, brand new to Miami, just a few months ago.
And are you seeing your clients virtually? Are they still
Everything is virtual,
everything? Hmm.
which is, nice, of course, because nothing changed for my clients in New York, but I am also
Hmm.
licensed in Florida, so I do have,
So
a few
taking on
clients here as
clients
well.
here. Awesome. So I'm so excited to have you on because, oh boy, does everybody need some help in the relationship department. I just think in general, it's always good to really kind of think about the effort we need to put into our couple dynamics. But adding an entire new layer of when you have children and become parents, that really kind of complicates things even more. So I would love to have a conversation with you all about sort of how to navigate that couple relationship when it comes to being parents together as well.
Yeah, and I think the crazy thing is no one knows what they're doing, right? So when you become a parent, you can prepare and think you know what you're doing going into what this relationship is going to feel like, but you really have no idea.
No idea. Nobody prepares you either for the child part or for the couple part, for
Mm-mm.
none of the parts, right? Okay, so my first kind of topic I want to get into is when we join, right, in couplehood, we are two separate people coming from two separate backgrounds, two separate families with our own maybe cultures or our own family values. And so then we join. And I think that it's not really, and I don't want to minimize this, maybe sometimes it is, but for me particularly, it wasn't really such a big deal that we had our different upbringings until children kind of come into the
Mhm.
picture. I feel like the children just kind of trigger and bring a lot of that up. Do you find that with your clients?
Completely, right? I think this comes up for so many different reasons, but oftentimes this really kind of gets highlighted when we're talking about our parenting styles. We often naturally either do one of two things. We want to parent the same way that we were parented as a child,
Okay.
or I think more commonly, we wanna do things very different the way our parents did it, and we put such effort and emphasis on doing that.
Yeah. So how do you see it play out? A couple comes into you and they have very different parenting styles.
Mhm,
They have different upbringings and they really want to now raise their children in sort of different ways. How do you
mhm.
see that play out?
These partners were not raised the same way. We're coming from two completely different backgrounds, we're parenting two completely different ways, and this is naturally going to cause quite a bit of discourse, right, in relationships, and it comes kind of out of left field because no one knows what they're doing. So this causes a
Hmm.
lot of confusion for the children, right, when there's two different parenting styles kind of coming at them, and of course, it's gonna cause quite a bit of distance between couples as well.
How do you start to navigate that with them?
So, obviously, this is such a simple word, but communication is incredibly important. And it's very easy not to talk, but when we do start talking, oftentimes couples come into conversations like that hot. They come into conversations like that where they're trying to win a conversation rather than
Right.
really understanding who your partner is, where they came from, and what they're saying. So I
Yeah,
think
they're
that
coming
is
in from like a defensive they're really only about focused on themselves in that moment.
exactly,
Mm.
exactly. And when you have that emphasis, right, it really becomes about two people not working together. It becomes about two people who are in their own lane fighting for what they want, essentially,
Yeah.
rather than we're on the same team. How can I understand why you're parenting this way so then we can work together and figure out a path forward for both of us?
I remember when I went attended one of the Gottman workshops that he actually gave, which he's awesome, him and his wife,
Uh-huh.
up in Seattle, and he would talk a lot about this, and he would talk a lot about how there's a reason we feel so strongly about the opinions and beliefs that we're bringing up, and we really don't take the time to kind of ask the other person, like, where did this get shaped? Like, where did this come from for you? Why is this so important? What are
Mhm.
you hoping for? Like, what was the value in your family? Or like what really understanding how that seed got planted and like what it really means for the person. We're just kind of looking at it very surface level. Like they just don't want to agree with me, right? Or
Mhm.
they just don't care. But he was really emphasizing that what kind of what you're saying is that we don't really get to take the time to understand why this is so critical for the other person, why it's so meaningful. And I think just coming in with that stance of who's going to win this battle is not going to
Mhm.
get you there.
Yeah,
But
and
I
I
also
think
feel like you need a lot of
yeah.
regulation to be able to come in.
100%, 100%. But what I was gonna say is I also think that many couples don't even have the language to have that conversation, right? Like, when we're so hot like that, we don't have the capacity to even go there. And the other thing that I was thinking as you were saying that is we when did we kind of get, less curious about our partners, right? At what point in
Yeah.
a relationship do we not want to keep learning about who they are? And I think
Mm.
at the start of any, new experience, whether that be becoming parents to a first, second, third child, how can we continue to be curious about who our partners are so we can continue that growth together?
That's so true because when you start dating, that's all you do is you're
Right.
just wanting to know everything about them. And like when does that suddenly stop? That like you and especially you're right, like once you transition into that parent role, like they're a new person in the parent role,
Mhm.
right? And it brings up new things. But so approaching it with curiosity instead of judgment or instead of criticism is a really good tactic. Why do we lose that?
I think it just becomes assumed. You know me, and I know how you're going to act. I know how you're going to respond. So when that person either does or doesn't respond the way that you're expecting, there's going to be a reaction. I also think patience comes in here. Like you mentioned, we're completely different people after we
Yeah.
have children. So we're also really unsure who we are as well. So that's going to create disconnection and discourse as well. If we're not understanding who we are, how can we understand each other? So I think really
Mhm.
talking that out or really just understanding that within yourself can kind of give time and space to figuring this out and coming together around it.
Do you believe that that couples need to have like, kind of figure out a similar parenting style, or are you of the agreement that there can be completely 2 different styles and it can work nicely?
Well, I don't think that they need to come in with the same parenting style, definitely not. I actually think it's really cool and could be helpful when partners have different parenting styles or
Mhm.
perspectives on parenting. But it's how this is really utilized in action and how partners are able to communicate about the way they are parenting that really matters. How are we defining, and what we're coming in with so we can kind of cultivate what's going to be best for our family together.
So, I wanna share with you an example, that a client came to me with. Actually, it wasn't a client, it was a friend of mine I couldn't take as a client, but the example is this couple was having a conflict because they had very different ideas of what sleep should look like with their kids.
Mm,
So, one person was going into the room, co-sleeping every night, like, just didn't care how much they woke up, didn't care that the kids would come, just wanted to snuggle them to sleep. Like, the co-sleeping was really not an issue for that person. They tended to be a little more permissive in that area, where the other person was like, this is setting up really bad habits for our family. This is not good for anybody. Nobody's getting good sleep. Like, this is not what I envisioned in my intimacy department in my bed.
Mhm.
So they were completely misaligned. So how
Mm.
would you look at something like that?
So I would really talk about for each of them, why does co-sleeping feel so important? And again, why to the other partner does co-sleeping feel so, not the path that they want to take? Again, I think it's really creating language for each partner to be able to understand. So right now, it sounds like these two people are just against each other, right? I don't
Mhm.
understand why they want to co-sleep. They're stuck in their lane, the other one's stuck in their lane, and there's not really the ability to kind of look at each other. I think with a couple like this, I would also use to really kind of get into the deeper of the understanding some
Mm.
imago type techniques where we're really, really repeating what the person is saying, what they're hearing the person say, which
Mhm.
imago is a couples therapy technique for deepening understanding.
So what's an
But
example of that? Saying like, what I'm hearing you say is this?
yes, what I'm hearing you say is co sleeping is really important to me because it makes me feel like I'm giving my child the utmost care and love that they need to fall asleep.
So that really kind of forces the person to step into the other person's shoes.
Exactly, exactly, and then
Mhm.
what happens when you have that time to repeat something that your partner is saying, it also gives the original partner time to edit or change what, your partner heard. Because what happens is sometimes we take in what our partner is saying, and it's not actually what they mean,
Yeah.
right? So this technique gives space for, how can I edit what you're saying that you heard me say, and kind of create this clarity together. And I think this is something that couples can do at home as well, very
Always. Yeah.
easily. Yeah.
I love this because I think this is funny because I'll bring up a personal example. Like any time that my husband and I have some sort of an argument or something, it always ends with I don't feel like you're hearing me, and then
Mhm.
his side is I don't feel listened to, and he says but I'm hearing you. And and it really, we're speaking two different languages because when he replies to me, I do not feel like he is doing what you're saying. Like he's not actually understanding my perspective.
Mhm.
For him, it's just like, I'm hearing the words out of your mouth, but he's interpreting them in a different way. So something like this exercise would probably show that
Mhm.
he's not really understanding what I'm saying, and I
Yeah, and
can
I
edit
think
a
when
lot of
when
it.
you don't feel heard, right, in a moment like that, even though he says he's listening, you don't feel taken care of.
It's very invalidating. It is,
Very.
and we've been doing a lot of inner work, each of us individually and as a couple, but he can now actually sit there and hear me say that a little bit more, like, with tolerance. With before, it felt like I was accusing him, like I was attacking
Mhm.
him,
I was
you
gonna
know?
say, like, I would be so
Mhm.
curious to understand why those words for him, "I'm not hearing you're not hearing me," or "I don't feel understood," feels so
Yeah. So
intense or
that's
depth for him.
yeah. I'm gonna bring that up. I wonder how he will he will
But
react
look,
to
right,
that.
isn't that interesting? You're being curious. How is he gonna react
Yes.
to that? Something so simple, you're just curious. You
Yeah.
wanna deepen that understanding to help the communication.
So first we deepen the understanding of, what where everybody's perspective's coming from, why is it so important, their personal stance. And then are you trying to get them to like a middle point, like a
Yeah, I
compromise?
mean, I think that it's such murky waters when we're saying middle
Yeah,
point, right? Like, what's
I know.
really
I don't even know what that means.
I do think there, of course, is going to be compromise naturally with every decision or every step you take. There's loss in what could have been or the direction that you could have gone.
Yeah.
So I do think it's going to be difficult no matter what.
Mhm.
But what I do think is so beautiful when you get to this step of negotiating, compromising, and figuring out how we're going to work this is it gets to be cultivated by the two of you. You get to
Mm,
figure out a plan that you're coming up with together. It's not one way or the other way, but it's something that you're coming together, connecting about, and then you're naturally going to implement it better together.
I want to tell you about this app that I discovered that is super helpful. It's a parenting app and it's called Wiser, Wizzer. It's a parenting app that uses AI to give you personalized support for hard stuff like tantrums, sleep struggles, screen time battles, and many more things. It provides 24/7 expert backed tools and real time coaching. It also helps you raise kids with empathy, emotion regulation, and life skills that matter the most. They believe that no parent should feel alone, and that's why they created this safe, judgment free community to connect and grow with other people who get it. They are providing my listeners with a 2-month free trial with a promo code Bloom2Free. That is BLOOM number 2 FREE. I want to take a quick break from this episode to share more about my services offered at Hatch and Bloom. Whether you're seeking personalized one-on-one guidance or insightful group learning, we have the right support for you. Our private sessions provide you with the tools and strategies needed to support your child's growth. So take the next step in nurturing your child's potential and book a session with me today. Please visit hatchandbloom.co. That's .co. Or you can email me at evelyn@hatchandbloom.co. Now, back to the episode. Sometimes I feel like I wonder if you see this play out in your clients, and I'm just curious if it's just something I see along my work. But I see often, and I'm gonna just say for a heterosexual couple, the mother wants something done in a certain way, wants dad to align. Dad comes in and will not do it the same way as her, but, like,
Mhm.
tries. And then it's almost like mother will either push him out or critique it. And then I see
Mm.
this, like, not giving the person space to kind of do it even if it's not exactly in the way that you want. And it's a little bit of, like, gatekeeping. Does that make sense?
Yes, so much sense, and, it actually brings me to a thought I had when thinking about this topic, but I something I see all the times with patients of mine, family, friends, I mean, anybody who's parenting, and it's such, like, a simple mistake, and I am going to use the word mistake that happens all the time because it can be so easily fixed. But one couple, let's say your children are eating dinner and there's chicken on their plate and apples on their plate. And let's use the same heterosexual couple. The husband says, "You guys can eat your apples first tonight." And the mom comes in and says, "No, no, 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 you can't. You got
Mhm.
first." In that moment, your children don't feel safe. Right? Because their safeguard, their goalie just showed you that there's no boundaries, there's no there, there everything
Yeah.
is off limits and there's no safety for them. So in that example, what I would push clients to do as they're working through how we can cultivate whatever this parenting style that we're figuring out is together is to let it just happen for that moment.
Mhm.
Because I promise you, your kids eating the apples first is a lot better for them than hearing that we're not on the same page.
No.
There is no
Yeah, I love that. That's such a great example. I work with that, with my clients all the time, and I also tell them, like, you really end up really discrediting each other, and
Mhm.
that's not great for your kids. They really wanna believe that they can trust that you have the authority, you have the leadership, and you have the words to kind of set things in motion in your house, and when somebody else comes in and says, "We're taking away all this power from you," that's
Yeah.
very confusing to your child too, and it
Mhm.
creates this, like, hierarchy between the 2 parents, like, they're not they're not equal.
Right, talk about it after, right? Let it
Mhm.
go for that moment, talk about it after.
So a similar example that I'll give to my clients too with what you're talking about is if one parent will kind of set this, like, boundary or limit or give a consequence, and then the kids will go to the other parent or the other parent will kind of intervene and be like, "No, no, no, like, you don't have to do that," or, "Okay, fine, like, I'll give it back," or and really just it's the same kind of dynamic playing out. So what I kind of always tell them is even if what you gave was too harsh, it's not what you meant and it was out of control and whatever, I always recommend that the same parent who gave the consequence is the same or the boundary, same parent who goes in and changes it.
Right, respect for each other in
Yeah,
relationships. I mean, and I would say start practicing this even when you have a tiny baby, right? Maybe they're not fully getting it, but they could feel it. And I
100%.
think it gets, it's very easy to kind of do that when you're brand new parents, and as your kids get older, you can
It
try to
gets harder.
kind of change that pattern, but you're already in that pattern, right? You've
Mhm.
already been doing that since your baby was young. So I would
Y
say from the
yeah.
start, that's an easy one to catch.
I find in kind of the example I was giving you where like again in this heterosexual couple where mom kind of swoops in and that happens often is when a child is having a big feeling or rejecting the other
Mhm.
parent and saying like no, I want mom to do this, I want mom to do this, and mom will just kind of come in and do it each time. Like, to me, that's problematic, for everybody. I don't know how you feel
Mhm.
about it, but for me, it
Yes.
also it's not just what we were talking about with the child and knowing the kind of the leadership that they have, but also, to me, that really takes away, from the partner's confidence to be able to handle, like, their children in uncomfortable moments and for the child then to receive this message from this parent saying, I can handle you. I'm not going anywhere, even if you're rejecting me or you're asking for
Mhm.
mom. Like, I'm I'm still here and I still love you.
I love that. I love that.
Mhm.
Children
Mhm.
need boundaries. They need
Mhm.
limits, right? And they're going to test your boundaries and limits
Mhm.
all the time. But
Mhm.
if we're not steady in secure, right, and not standing on our own 2 feet while we're around them, they're naturally going to feel unsafe.
Yeah. Okay, so I love that. So nothing, not discrediting each other or kind of always coming in and rescuing unless I always say let the other person ask for you. If they need
Mhm.
your help, let them ask, let them signal you and you come in. But don't be the one that's, you're creating this sort of dynamic where you're just the rescuer of all the situations. Want to segue to
Yes.
when we are all human and we eventually inevitably will argue in front of our children. Argue, fight, whatever you want to call it. Please walk us through this very uncomfortable moment and
Yeah,
what we
listen,
can do.
I think I really do, and I genuinely believe this. Arguing in front of kids actually can be okay, right? I
Mhm.
think it's going to happen. So if we're, beat ourselves up for doing it or for it happening, that's only going to cause more stress. So arguing in front of your kids can happen and can be okay. I think what is said and how it's said truly matters, as well as how it's handled. So if there's arguing, there always needs to be some sort of making up as well. I was going to use the word resolution, but I actually don't think there always needs to be fixing. We can love each other and feel secure in our relationship in front of our kids without needing to solve or fix something. All of this being done while showing we love and respect each other.
What would that look like when you're not resolving something?
So let's say we're having a little back and forth about you didn't wash his blankie. I told you to wash his blankie. Now it's dirty. Now it's bedtime. You can't use his blood. And the back and forth is happening. And the baby is
Mhm.
sitting there. It's during bedtime. He has his books in front of him. There's back and forth, back and forth. Once this back and forth kind of slows down and steadies, maybe it's something as simple as a hug
Mm.
between parents for their child to see. Maybe it's a family hug. Maybe it's one of the parents saying, I'm really sorry. I meant to do it. It fell off. I'm going to do it later. I mean, that would be more resolution based, but I actually don't necessarily think we even need that. I think it's
Need to
showing
go
that
there.
no matter what, we're steady. We're okay. Just because we're arguing doesn't mean there's fracture.
I imagine that's probably hard for for dysregulated parents to hug each other right after they're
A
so annoyed at
hundred
you.
100%.
I'm like
But
trying to
with
picture that.
no, I mean, it's true, right? It's hard for anybody to do, but I think, again, if you're having this point of view that you're doing this even for your child,
For
even
your
if it's not
child. Yeah.
100% natural,
Yeah.
taking that step.
And it probably is good for you anyways to just
Yes,
kind of
right,
settle.
force I mean, listen, there's so much healing that can be done from your children.
I think
So,
they're our
so, so
biggest teachers.
much.
I
I
really do.
100% agree. So even in a moment like that, that's really hard and you might not really mean it, you might be thanking yourself later.
Mm, mhm. I love that. Do you, tell your parents you work with to also to older kids or smaller kids sometimes explain, that mom and dad were feeling really angry? Like, do you have them kind of sometimes
Yes,
explain?
I think that, sometimes that's a beautiful way of handling it as well.
Yeah.
It doesn't always need to be about showing, could also be, "We have big feelings just like you have
Yeah.
big feelings, and it's
Yeah.
okay to have big feelings. We still love each other, that's all that matters."
Yeah. Yeah, because sometimes they just like it's the elephant in the room. They know something happened, the energy changed, and when they're so little, they don't understand. They don't really can't connect all the dots. So when you help them kind of also remove that, like this has nothing to do with them,
Mhm.
especially when it's something about them or their items or something that was left out, they can totally personalize this, right? They can
Yes.
internalize.
I also think it's incredibly important for them to know, right, that part about feelings being okay, right, and that
Yeah.
they're safe. They're safe no matter what. Because we they I mean, again, even if they can't understand really what's going on or even what we're saying, they can feel everything, everything.
Yeah.
And I think that they can feel everything from the second they're born. So, really, really kind of being intentional about the way that you're talking to each other in front of your children, not saying anything like, "This is something I've heard, and it kills me every time, but, oh, your dad's being so annoying," or, kind
Oh,
of
yeah.
explicitly saying the thing because they can feel it. Even if they don't hear it, they can feel it.
Yeah, they can feel that, and that again, that kind of creates the unsafety you were talking about in the beginning,
Yes.
right? Okay, I love this, tip, it's such a good tip. Can you, as a relationship therapist, give our listeners some really kinda nice tips to stay as connected, intimate, finding the joy in your relationship after kids as possible? Because it feels like sometimes that's
Yes.
so distant.
Yes.
Galaxies
This is
away.
this is something I love, love, love talking about because I think people think you have to do these really big actions like a date night all the time or, creating intimacy with sex or, these big, heavy things that can feel big and heavy postpartum. But I think that there are little ways that we don't think about to create connection and intimacy throughout the day that are so easy and very often overlooked. And again, something like we were talking about earlier, the curiosity we used to have early in our relationship, we don't have now.
Mhm,
That's something like, again, I'm going to use that heterosexual couple, but the wife is sitting at the sink washing bottles. Husband comes up behind her, gives her a big hug.
mhm.
So simple, right? Or we're
That
sitting on
also
the
feels like
couch.
appreciation.
Yes, we're sitting
Mhm,
and I see you, right? I see you,
mhm.
I feel appreciating of you. We're sitting on the couch. I'm just gonna touch your hand. It's like in these small, small moments that you can just create connection, create and if you can do a date night, amazing. Making time for the couple feels incredibly important. But I think there are these small ways throughout a day, even if it's sending a text I love you. I'm thinking about you. I miss you. That really do matter. On a bigger scale, I think something that I've seen that is incredibly helpful, it takes a little bit more work, but is doing things for your partner for the simple fact that they don't want to do them.
Okay.
Yeah. So, for example, a husband starts doing the laundry every day because his wife hates doing laundry. I mean,
Imagine that.
but he's doing it
Yeah.
just because he wants to make her life
Yes.
easier. Or
Yes.
wife cooks dinner because her husband hates cooking.
So is this something that you suggest couples kinda sit down and they're like, "What do you hate the most? And what do you hate
Well,
the most? And what can
I
I
mean,
take
you
on?"
can because I think that the family meeting, as cliche and corny as it is, can be so helpful, especially in this postpartum time when, like we were
When,
kind
like,
of
you don't even
talking
know
about
what day
earlier,
it is. Yeah.
we're discovering ourselves again. And yes, we definitely don't know what day it is. But sitting down and kind of having that list, sure, can work. But I also think there's ways that we know these things about our partners and we don't pay attention to them or we don't really care because we're too busy. If maybe I'm taking something off my load and and I'm taking something else on, we're kind of switching things, but it can feel so, so appreciated, and it can
Yeah.
feel good for you to do something for your partner for the
Yeah.
simple fact that they don't wanna do it.
I just think that a lot of time people spend so much time just in their own like, just in themselves that they don't take the time to be like, "What is this day like for my partner? What is this experience like for my partner?
Yes.
How can" we're, like, simmering in our own resentment sometimes that we're like and then there probably is this, like, chain reaction when you do something for them, and they really appreciate it, and it just probably is this feedback loop that you're like, "Oh, this I feel more connected. They seem to notice." I don't know. Probably it's a loop, right?
100%. I think the other thing is like I'm not sugarcoating this. This is really hard. All of this
Yeah.
is actually really, really hard, especially in a postpartum period. Relationships take work. And I think I mean, as you know, everyone knows, but I think that there's something to be said about always prioritizing a relationship. And that prioritizing is going to look different in different stages of your life.
Mhm. For my husband and I, it's important to I see such a difference when we're able to take some time away, like, even if it's really short, like, some time out of that like, I had to explain this to him because he, like, really didn't understand why not sleeping at home with the kids feels very different for me than just being somewhere with him. Like, I don't
Uh-huh.
know why it doesn't click for men as much, but, like, they don't understand that, like, our roles just get mushed into one at home. Like, it's
Mm.
very hard to switch hats, right? Like, you're mom, 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 till, like, the end of the day, the last very hour, and then suddenly you're, like, switching into your wife role, and it's not seamless. It's very, like, you're exhausted and all these things happen. So you being able to carve out time where you're really just like, "We are just focusing on our relationship right now," without me being like, "Wait, I have to go to carpool." Like, what I just started this podcast
Yeah.
being like,
Yeah.
"Carpool."
Right. And I was gonna say,
Mental
like,
list.
oftentimes when you're in that day to day, that your conversations with your husband where you think you're connecting are actually probably, "Okay, tomorrow we have to do this, this, and this. We need to do this for the house and take" right? I mean,
They're
and
like
is
mental
that
checklists. Yeah.
yes, and is that really connecting? Yes, you're together, but I don't know if that's really connecting.
Yeah. I'm gonna say no.
Yeah. I'm gonna say no too, but maybe for some couples, I don't know
Are
who,
you of the
there's
belief that,
potential.
like, on date nights, you wanna, like, limit, like, conversation about your kids and all that?
I am.
Okay.
However, I do think if there's, I want it to be natural, right? You don't want to go into a date night with forced guidelines. I think naturally, as couples become closer and cultivate connection, you can go into a date night and be like, I'm going to be curious tonight. Or
Mhm.
maybe you go into a date night and you say, I'm going to do something different. I
Yeah.
just think there's an aspect of connection that's really, really cool and that you get to continue to grow. So if you're
Yeah.
thinking about it in that way, where is my growth in this relationship? Then there's your
Yeah.
opportunity that night, right? And if your kids fall into the
Mhm.
conversation, fine. I mean, they're your kids.
Yeah, it's so easy to fall into that because that just feels like it's your whole identity for, like, a lot of years, even though but it's
Mhm.
what you're saying is so important, like, we really have to step outside and think there's so many other parts to us, like, this is really parenting is just one part to us, and we really have to work hard to remember the other parts and bring them up as well, and doing, like, something different and fun, like, when my husband and I went on vacation together for the first time in a really long time, in May, you're together for a lot of days. At some point, you're like, okay, we've talked about everything there's to talk about. But we were on this hike, and I was like, let's play a game. We're going to play a game of like, I don't know, we asked each other like questions, like, who would you be if you
My
could be anyone
husband
in the
and
world?
I did that
Yeah.
as well, and it's amazing.
It was so fun, and we had never
Mhm.
done something like that, and we got to really learn about each other in this, like, really fun, curious way, and I just think sometimes it's, like, bringing play back into, like, your
Yes.
relationship.
Yes,
Mhm.
fun, something different, and, I think there's questions you can ask about the relationship that can create deeper insight into who you are as a couple, questions about the early days, questions about how you feel in your identity now. I mean, really opportunities for that curiosity feel like
Mhm.
where connection really happens and then growth, which I am under the firm belief, obviously, as a therapist, that growth should always be happening.
Yeah, that's awesome. Can you give us, like, 1 or 2 of the relationship questions that you think are good?
Yes. So there one that I love is when we first met, what was it about our relationship that felt different to you?
I like that.
And I think there's some, people might expect an obvious answer, but I think if you really think deeply about that, there's more. There's obviously depth that has potential there. Another really good relationship question is how are we different as a couple today than we were when we first met?
I like that. Yeah, so I bet there's like a million more that you
Oh,
can
there's
come up with.
there's a million. There's a million, but
Okay,
could probably
awesome.
have a whole
So
podcast about that.
yeah, so that's great though. That's a great start. So, good communication, keep it fresh, spontaneous, help your partner out by doing something that you know they hate and helping them out. Let's just kind of go over the main points. When you're fighting or arguing in front of your kids, it's going to happen at some point, probably, is really being able to make amends in front of them and show them like we're still a team. Like you don't have to feel unsafe. We're still a team. We're okay. We respect each other. When you haven't respected each other, an apology or whatever it is,
Mhm.
that you need to do, and not needing to be on the same page, but having respect for each other's like perspective and really trying to deepen your understanding of where that person's belief really comes from. Why is it so important to them? And where can we sort of meet so we can both be okay?
Exactly, and
How did
again,
I do for reflecting that?
you did amazing. I just wanna kind of finish that with the very cool thing that comes with how can we cultivate whatever this is together is this is just ours, right? No 2 ways of
Mhm.
parenting is going to be exactly the same, and we have this family, this is our unit, and this is the way we are choosing to do it.
You get to co-create it. You really do.
Mhm.
And it doesn't have to look like anybody else's. That's the thing. We're
Nope.
we're under so much pressure sometimes, societal pressure of like having to stick to something a certain way. Everybody's doing it this way, or our parents and people, all the noise kind of gets
Oh,
involved and
yeah,
and
there's
seeps in.
how many different types of parenting are out there right now? Like, how are you supposed to choose what feels right for you, you know? And again, I
Yeah,
think that probably escalates a lot of what we've been talking about today. One person heard something on TikTok, one
yeah,
person saw something, so we're gonna try these different things, and that's gonna cause more dislike. There's just so much noise out there.
yeah. This was so great, Jordan. Thank you so much for being here. If somebody
This was
wants to
so much
find you, where
fun.
can they find you?
You can find me on Jordanne Sculler, LMHC.com or on Instagram at Jordanne Sculler.
Awesome. Thanks for being here. Thanks for your time.
Thank you so much. This was so much fun.
Hey everyone, it's Evelyn. Thank you so much for tuning in. Your support truly means the world to me. If you're interested in hosting a parenting workshop, I'd love to connect. Whether it's a private session for parents, a school event, or a corporate workshop, I'm here to help bring valuable insights and strategies to your community. Let's chat and make it happen. Please visit hatchandbloom.co. That's .co. Or you can email me at evelyn@hatchandbloom.co.